3 chairs. That's all I ask for. Just 3 chairs at the front of Harvard Yard. 1 for my grandmother, 1 for my best friend, and 1 for my parents. The morning of my graduation, I placed a single white rose on that 3rd seat. Not because I was being dramatic. Because I already knew. The text had come at midnight. Too tired from Chloe's trip. We'll celebrate next time. There was no next time. There never had been. What they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that by sunrise I'd be standing behind Harvard's podium, delivering a speech that would break the internet. A speech about them, about every empty seat they'd left behind, about every "that's nice" that replaced "I'm proud of you." By noon, every major network was replaying my words. By nightfall, my phone had 47 missed calls from the parents who were too tired to show up. But here's what the headlines didn't tell you. What happened after the cameras stopped rolling? What my mother said when she finally saw what she'd done, and the moment my father, the man who'd spent my entire life nodding instead of speaking, finally opened his mouth. You think you know what it feels like to be unseen by the people who were supposed to see you most. You don't. Not until you hear what happened next. I grew up in a town where everybody knew your last name before they knew your first. Sunday mornings smelled like burnt coffee, fresh gossip, and church clothes pressed so crisp they could cut glass. Our town was the kind where neighbors measured your worth by the shine on your car and the smile on your wife. My mother, Judy Hart, lived for those measurements. She believed appearances weren't just important, they were everything. If people saw perfection, maybe they'd believe it was real. Maybe she'd believe it was real. My father, Robert, stood beside her like a shadow with a pulse. He was the man who nodded more than he spoke. The man who let silence fill the spaces where words should have been. I used to think he was mysterious. Now I know he was just absent, even when he was standing right there. And then there was Chloe. Chloe, the name that echoed through our house like a song on repeat. 2 years younger than me, 10 times more visible. She was the daughter who made perfection look effortless. When Chloe entered a room, my mother's voice would shift mid-sentence, sharp to sweet, annoyed to adoring. Like a switch had flipped inside her chest. Me, I was the older one, the quiet one. The kind of girl people introduced as Chloe's sister, before realizing I had a name of my own. When I was 10, something happened that I'll never forget. It was my birthday, April 14th. I'd been counting down the days for weeks. That morning, I woke up to the smell of sugar and frosting. Mom was in the kitchen, on the phone, laughing about Chloe's dance competition from the day before. When I walked in, there it was. A beautiful cake sitting on the counter. Pink frosting, white lettering. Perfect. Except for one thing. The words didn't say "Happy Birthday, Zoe." They said, "Congratulations, Chloe." I stood there, frozen. The air left my lungs. Mom looked over, saw my face, and laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, honey. I grabbed the wrong order at the bakery after her competition. Here. She handed me a slice anyway. We'll do yours next weekend. Longer pause. Voice thickens. We never did. That was the day I learned something that would shape the next 15 years of my life. Absence doesn't always mean someone isn't there. Sometimes, absence shows up wearing your mother's face, handing you cake with somebody else's name on it. When the Harvard acceptance letter came, I thought things might change. Harvard, the name everyone recognized, the school that made strangers nod with respect. Surely this would be the thing that made them see me. It wasn't. Harvard was everything my small town wasn't. Loud, brilliant, alive. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to shrink. I was just Zoe, and that was enough. But even in that new world, their silence followed me. The first semester, I sent my parents a photo of campus, me in front of Widener Library, red scarf, beaming smile. I captioned it, "Made it, wish you could see this." 3 days later, Mom replied, Pretty place. Chloe just landed a new gig in New York. Isn't that exciting? Dad added, a thumbs up emoji. That was it. No, we're proud. No, how are you adjusting? No, we miss you. Just a reminder that even 400 miles away, I was still orbiting around someone else's light. By junior year, I stopped sending photos, stopped calling on Sundays, stopped expecting the phone to ring on my birthday. When it did ring, always a week late, I'd answer politely, listen to updates about Chloe's life, and hang up feeling emptier than before. While they weren't watching, I was building something. Her name was Maria Alvarez, Dean of Community Health Research, a woman who wore reading glasses on a chain and spoke like every word cost her money. One day she called me into her office. Sit, she said. I sat. She slid a report across her desk. Pages of statistics on healthcare disparities. You wrote the summary on page 47. It wasn't a question. Yes, ma'am. She leaned back, studying me over those glasses. You have a voice, Zoe. You just speak it through logic. Most people can't do that. Don't waste it. That line rewired something in my brain. You have a voice. I'd spent so many years being unheard that I'd forgotten I had something to say. Then came the email. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was eating a sad dining hall salad when my laptop dinged. Subject, Class of 2024 Commencement Speaker Nomination. I stopped chewing. Read it again. Then again. Valedictorian. Me. The girl whose birthday cake had someone else's name on it. The girl who got thumbs up emojis instead of phone calls. For one foolish, hopeful moment, I thought, this will be different. This, they won't be able to ignore. So I picked up my phone, and I called home. It rang 4 times. 5, 6, voicemail. I tried again, same thing. So I texted, hey, big news, call me when you can. Hours passed. The sun set. My roommate Maya came and went. Finally, at 11:47 p.m., my phone lit up. Mom, sorry honey, we're in Italy with Chloe for her law internship celebration. So proud of both our girls. Both. That word hit different when you're staring at it alone, in the dark. Holding news that should have made someone scream with joy. Both. As if I was an afterthought in my own victory. 2 weeks before graduation, after a dozen unanswered calls and half-hearted promises, it came. The text that ended everything. It arrived at midnight, because of course it did. Mom, so sorry, honey. Too tired from Chloe's trip. We'll celebrate next time. Love you. I stared at those words until they blurred. Too tired. Next time. Love you. 3 lies in 12 words. I could have cried. I could have called back, begged, made them feel guilty. I could have done what I'd always done, shrunk myself to make their absence feel smaller. But something in me had finally finished breaking. And when you break all the way down, something strange happens. You stop bending. I typed back 2 words, rest well. Then I set down my phone, and I started writing. The speech I wrote that night wasn't about success. It wasn't about Harvard. It wasn't even about revenge. It was about chairs, empty chairs, and the people who learn to fill them on their own. Graduation morning, the sun was sharp, almost painfully bright. Rows of crimson robes shimmered across Harvard Yard. Cameras flashed. Families waved. Names were shouted across the crowd. Everywhere I looked, there was connection. I found my seat on stage. From up there, the yard looked endless. I scanned the front rows once, though I already knew what I'd find. Grandma Helen in her blue coat. Maya beside her, camera ready. And between them, the chair, the white rose, still, silent, waiting for no one. When they called my name, valedictorian Zoe Hart, a wave of applause rose through the crowd. I stood, walked to the podium. Each step felt heavy with years I hadn't spoken. The microphone buzzed softly. I looked out over thousands of faces, thousands of stories. Good morning. When they didn't see us, we learned to see each other. I stand here today, not because I was celebrated. I stand here because I learned to continue, even when the chairs reserved for me stayed empty. Silence used to feel like punishment, but now I understand. It was training. Because when no one shows up for you, you learn how to show up for others. Today, there is a chair in the front row. It's empty. Not as an accusation, but as a reminder. We cannot control who shows up. We can only control whether we become people who do. May we never leave the next seat empty. For those who come after us, the applause started soft. Then it swelled and swelled until it roared through the yard like thunder. Through all of it, I looked at the front row, Grandma Helen, standing, hands clasped to her chest. Maya, crying openly, camera forgotten. And that chair, still and quiet, glowing in the sunlight, the white rose catching the breeze, like a flag, like a surrender. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. By the time I reached the reception hall, it was already everywhere. The photo, me at the podium, sunlight on my face, the empty chair and rose perfectly framed behind me. Headlines started popping up. Harvard valedictorian delivers viral speech about absence. The empty chair heard around the world. Who didn't show up? My phone buzzed nonstop, notifications stacking like falling dominoes. Then the calls started. Mom, Dad, Chloe. Over and over. Mom, why didn't you tell us? Everyone's asking why we weren't there. Dad, you made it sound like we abandoned you. Do you know how this looks? Chloe, nice job making us the villain, Zoe. Congrats, I guess. I stared at those messages for a long time. 14 years of asking to be seen. And now that the world was watching, now they wanted to talk? Not because they'd hurt me, because they'd been caught. I pressed mute, set the phone face down. That night, Grandma Helen said something I'll never forget. You didn't embarrass them, Zoe. You revealed them. What happens when the people who made you feel invisible suddenly find themselves in the spotlight? They panic. Another text came the next morning. Mom, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Too far. Now it had gone too far. Not when they missed my state competition. Not when they forgot my birthdays. Not when they sent thumbs up emojis instead of phone calls. But now, when the world was watching, now it had gone too far. I typed one message back. Dinner, tomorrow, 7 p.m. My apartment. Just us. No explanation. No apology. Just an invitation. To face what they'd ignored for 24 years. They showed up late. Of course they did. At 7:22, there was a knock. Hesitant. Soft. The kind of knock that comes from guilt dressed up as politeness. I opened the door. My father entered first, stiff in his navy jacket. My mother followed, clutching her purse like armor. Chloe trailed behind. Mascara perfect. Eyes darting between all of us, like she was looking for an exit. A table was small, set for 4, beside the extra chair. I'd placed a small wooden sign. For who shows up. My mother broke the silence first. You humiliated us, Zoe. Her voice cracked between pride and panic. The neighbors saw the video. The people at church. Do you have any idea how it feels to have everyone think we abandoned you? I met her eyes. You didn't need the world to tell you that, I said calmly. You already knew. Dad tried to soften it. You could have told us you were valedictorian. We would have come. We would have. Would you? I interrupted quietly. Would you really? The question hung in the air. Because when I won state, you were at Chloe's dance recital. When I got the research fellowship, you were in Nashville. When I was accepted to Harvard, Dad, you said, that's nice, and asked if I could pick up Chloe from cheerleading practice. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. There's always a reason. I continued. Always a trip. Always too tired. Always something. Chloe shifted in her seat. Zoe, she started, then stopped. I didn't know it hurt you like that, she whispered. I thought you just didn't care. You were always so independent, so fine on your own. It didn't hurt, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. Not anymore. Mother's breakthrough, voice cracks. Mom's shoulders slumped. The armor dropped. We thought you didn't need us, she said, voice barely above a whisper. You were always so capable, Zoe. So smart. So together. Chloe, she needed attention. She fell apart without it. But you just handled things. So we focused where we thought we were needed. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke. Independence isn't a personality, Mom. It's a survival skill. I didn't not need you. I just stopped asking. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dad cleared his throat. What do you want from us? Not defensive, not angry, genuinely asking. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm asking for consistency. If you say you'll come, come. If you're tired, rest. But don't promise to show up and then vanish. That's all. He nodded slowly, like a man learning to bow for the first time. We'll try, he said. I smiled faintly. That's a start. When they left, the apartment felt lighter. Not fixed, just different. The rose on the table had begun to wilt, petals softening at the edges. I replaced it with a fresh one. Same color, same meaning. Something beautiful can grow, even in absence. By the end of that week, the world had moved on to another headline, but the emails kept coming. Fellow students, complete strangers, journalists. Hashtag the empty chair trended for 3 days. Hashtag build your own seat became a hashtag people used to share their own stories. I read hundreds of them. People who'd been overlooked, people who'd been forgotten, people who'd finally stopped waiting for someone else to pull up a chair. A week later, I spoke at a small community event downtown. Nothing grand, just students and locals gathered in a library basement. No cameras, no applause. Just nods from people who understood. Afterward, a girl approached me, maybe 19, tear tracks on her cheeks. My parents didn't come to my graduation either, she said softly. But seeing you made it hurt less, so thank you. That was the moment I understood. The story wasn't about revenge. It was about permission. Permission to stop waiting. Permission to stop shrinking. Permission to finally build your own seat at your own table. At home, the chair stayed in the corner of my room. The wooden tag still dangled from its back, for who shows up. Sometimes, when the light hit it just right, it didn't look empty. It looked expectant, like it was still waiting for someone. Maybe it always would be. Maybe that was okay. If you're still listening, first, thank you. This story wasn't easy to tell, but if it reached even one person who's felt invisible, it was worth it. Now I want to hear from you. First, comment where you're listening from right now. Second, tell me your own empty chair moment. Third, tag someone who needs to hear this message. I read every single story. That's how we build a community where no one has to sit alone. If you want more stories like this, subscribe, hit that button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who's been quietly hurting. Because here's the truth. Your pain has purpose. Your silence has strength. Your invisible moments are preparing you for something bigger. That empty chair, it's not a symbol of absence. It's an invitation for you to sit down, for you to speak up, for you to finally take up space. Build your table, set your extra seat, and never apologize for being seen. For everyone who learned to clap for themselves, your story matters, especially the parts they didn't see.